Hey guys, Curtis with Wander with the Workmans, and today we need to talk about something that is really important. So the message of today's video is very simple. Do not feed wild animals when you are out camping. It's that simple. Now, I hope that I am not talking to you. If I am talking to you, please take this message to heart and change your practices. If you're not that person, but you know someone who needs to hear this message repeated one more time, please share this video with them. Do not feed wild animals. So let me give you a brief rundown of what happened to us a couple of nights ago. As you can see, there's an empty campsite right in front of us, and beyond that is a fifth wheel trailer. The other night, we were sitting in our camper, reading and talking and just enjoying an evening, when all of a sudden we heard coyotes yipping and howling very, very closely. And I stepped outside, and what I discovered was, in the dying sunlight, was the people living in that fifth wheel over there were standing outside, and they were throwing rocks at a group of 3 coyotes that were running through their campsite. And the coyotes were acting very strange in that they weren't completely scared off by this. They would move out of the reach of the rocks and then turn around and stare. Eventually they did turn and run down over into this small ravine that's right in front of us, and they went down the ravine and stopped on the other side. What ended up happening, and what the full story was, is once I went to speak to the people, this campsite that's right between us, as you can see, was occupied when we first moved here up until a day or two ago. And the people who were there thought it was fun to feed the coyotes to bring them close. And that left the coyotes looking for food even after those people had left this campsite. Now, when I say don't feed the wild animals, I am talking about the full spectrum. From accidentally feeding because you left a bowl of food out for your dog and curious animals came up and stole from it, all the way to actually intentionally feeding animals to draw them closer to you. I'm sure there are a lot of good-intentioned people out there, but to be very frank with you, I don't care. And the reason I don't care, and this is so important, is the result is always the same. Your intentions do not matter. The result is always the same. And what happens when you feed wild animals, you write a couple of checks that you don't have to cash yourself. First of all, from a human aspect, what happens when you feed animals is that you normalize them to human contact. You represent that area as being a food source. And for every animal, from the single-celled whatever in the primordial ooze all the way up to you and me, food security is a primal instinct. And any animal that finds a food source is going to exploit that food source and defend that food source if at all possible. And when you make a campsite a food source, you are inciting those instinctual responses. And so what happens is you move on. You get done with your camping trip and you move to the next site, you go back home to your home base, whatever the case may be, but that animal still sees that location as a viable food source, and they will return there to try and exploit that food source, or to defend it if they have to, which means that the next person, the next family, the next set of kids that come to that campsite are going to be that food source for that animal. They're going to see that group as a food source, and they're either going to try and elicit food from them, or they're going to try and defend what they think is a food source, and that places the next camper coming along at risk. You're not there to continue the trend, and there's a language barrier between us and all other animals. So the people who follow you don't know what is being expected of them, which can incite a defense response out of the wild animal. So you're asking somebody else to be responsible for your behavior. I personally think that's rude, and I think that is something that I would try not to do to somebody, is to make them take responsibility for my actions. And that is what happens when you feed and then leave, is you're asking the next person down the road to take responsibility for your actions. The other thing that you're doing is incredibly disruptful or terminal to that animal's life. As they become accustomed to that source and try to defend it and try to exploit the resources there, they are seen as being aggressive. Now, wildlife management policies differ throughout the nation, but they basically run the gambit from relocation to termination. Those are the general two responses you're going to get out of any wildlife management agency. If an animal is slightly aggressive, maybe a little too friendly, and those management services have the resources, they may dart and trap and relocate. But even then, if you think about it, that is incredibly disruptive to that animal. They're taken to a location where they don't readily know where the water sources are, where the food sources are, where their shelter sources are. They are starting completely over. And depending upon the time of the year, you may be separating a female animal from her young, and again, imperiling the lives of those young animals as well. But again, you're not there. So you're asking this animal to take responsibility for an action that you shouldn't have taken, but you did. The other option in this case, if an animal gets way too aggressive, is that the animal is just terminated. Wildlife management officials will just kill that animal. And so by feeding them, you're actually shortening their lives. So again, guys, please take this message to heart. Do not feed the wild animals. Okay? Growing up in Idaho, knowing a bunch of wildlife biologists and stuff, I have seen this situation play out to its end. And it is never fun. It is never pretty. It's not fun or interesting or cool or anything for the people involved, and it is certainly harmful to the animals. So that is why I'm just absolutely intolerant of anyone who tries to feed wild animals. And I'm begging you guys, I'm asking, I'm doing everything I possibly can to influence you to not feed the wild animals when you're out camping. Now guys, I'm sorry this isn't one of those fun, wee, look at us out on the road camping videos. I'm sorry I got a little serious, but this is really important. If you guys have had situations with animals that have gotten a little too friendly, possibly a little too aggressive, and you have strategies for how to deal with that situation, please share them in the comments below. I would love to know some better strategies myself if they're out there, and I would hope that we can share those strategies with other people. So please, in the comments below, tell us about your encounters with a little too friendly wildlife. In the meantime, if you guys like what we're doing, apart from these rant videos, or maybe because of these rant videos, be sure to hit the subscribe button. It's still right down there, right below me. Hit the subscribe button. That'll turn on the bell notification icon. If you click on that, YouTube will send you a message every time we put out a new video. And so you can keep up with us on a regular basis in almost real time. Also, if you want to keep up with us on a more spontaneous basis, we are on Instagram. We are Wander with the Workmans on Instagram as well, so give us a follow there. In the meantime, you guys, don't feed the wildlife, and we'll see you down the road.